One of the things I find most striking is the simplicity, the overwhelming simplicity with which very seemingly banal activities to some people actually work as a panacea for many of the perceived and real ills that are plaguing society today in the face of, or under the shroud, the ever-looming shroud of technology, specifically artificial intelligence, social media and the algorithms that are used therein, and the behavioral structures that are infecting the culture around the world en masse. One of the first things that comes to my mind when I just said that last part of affecting the cultures around the world was when I lived in China. And so a few other things leading up to that. I remember very specifically that something that I would say often was that there are certain things that I just will not do. And I will not spend my money on because they seem absolutely ridiculous to me. Some things that people spend their money on, and it never made much sense to me. And they are going to strip clubs, going to casinos and or gambling. And there were a few others, but I just want to state those two because it leads into what I mean about the cultures around the world. When I went to China, at least the gambling part in the United States was not, as far as I recall, it was not legal in many cases. There were a lot of restrictions on it. So then I go to China, 2016, was there until 2021. And one of the things I started seeing, which for some reason, maybe I just was in some strange bubble of my own in which I didn't really notice it that much. Maybe I wasn't on social media that much. Maybe it was also because I was so focused on Floor Elizabeth Carrasco. Maybe because I was so focused on her, I didn't notice it. But Floor died in 2019. She was born on August 23rd, 1990, and she died on October 24th, 2019. And 7 months later, I met a bodybuilder, a young woman who I started training with. And one of the things that I noticed when she would post her images, her pictures of her post and before workout and things like that on the social medias, Douyin and other places in China, what were the constant, I don't know what you call it, but the butt pictures, the booty pictures, where she would be standing at an angle either sideways so you could see her round bump, her rump sticking out, or this half-twisted turning around with the phone in the hand, looking over her shoulder, but with her back slightly towards you so you can see her butt. And this this was interesting because I didn't notice it before until I was training with her, and she would do these things, and I would look at her social media, and I would see that almost more than 90%, and I might be even being modest here, were pictures like that. And so now, fast forward back to the United States, I come back here and I notice that there are more casinos, that all of a sudden there's an explosion of online gambling, and now it's more legal and accepted, at least in the public eye, than it was before. And then I started noticing that all on social media were all the young women, especially, doing the same thing as my Chinese bodybuilder friend with the booty pictures. So all of that to say that what I found, and these various pervasive these various different behavioral phenomena that are global because of technology and social media, but a lot of it has to do with, first of all, and many people know about this, but because of the atmosphere of how ad spend works, so advertisers on social media platforms, because of that atmosphere, because of that environment, every social media platform is competing for attention. And the attention is attracted in a way, it's designed to make sure that the users of the various different social media platforms, that they stay on that platform as long as possible to be presented with the advertisements. They need to be able to, their eyeballs need to be stuck on that platform in order to satisfy the advertisers, requirements for how long people are on the platforms, and how much of their ad spend is being effectively used to get their message in front of the users of these platforms. So the platforms are designed to keep people on that platform in order to be influenced, to be presented with the advertising. And you can argue with that if you want. You can say it's not this, that, but this is the foundation. This is how I understand and what I see through the research. And various other people who are in marketing, who deal with advertising and promotion and and public relations, and all of the various forms that capturing human attention comes in. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about the interest graph and how the algorithms are designed through these interest graphs to present people who are using the platforms with information and with various different media that's going to keep them scrolling and keep their eyeballs basically on the screen on their device of choice, so that, of course, then they can be presented with the advertising. And I mentioned this somewhere before, but of course, because I'm mentioning it, it might seem somewhat of an obscure idea, but it will become much more prevalent in the language as time goes along, simply because I've mentioned it. But the algorithms, these interest graph metrics, they operate much like how they're a mirror, they're an outpicturing of the way that the human reticular activating system works. So in essence, these platforms are designed to replace how our attention and awareness and sense of ownership and our sense of control over certain things, how we perceive it in our environment. So let me give a little bit of an explanation for that. Let me qualify that here. And so what I mean is that, and I'm going to use a story many people have heard before, or an idea that people know of. But our reticular activating system, basically, the way we see it in action is, in 2017, I went with Floor to go buy a new car. We went to Hyundai and went to go buy a Hyundai Elantra. And the one on the lot that I got was a really inexpensive one. And it was this color called like electric blue. And, I had never noticed that car on the road before. You know where this is going, right? So as soon as I bought the car and drove it off the lot, all of a sudden I was seeing electric blue 2017 or related year, close around that year that looked the same with that color. So I don't know if any other year had that color, or maybe it was just a 2017s, but whatever the case was, before I didn't see any of those cars. I never noticed it before. And then as soon as I drove it off the lot to go pick up Floor and show off the new car, which was a great car, by the way, all of a sudden I'm seeing them everywhere. That's how the reticular activating system works. And another mundane way to explain this is that if our reticular activating system wasn't put on notice, if our brain didn't activate in this way, then even more people would have no way of identifying their car when they came out of a store after they parked in a parking lot and looked out over the sea of cars there. They wouldn't be able to identify or know where their car was because they wouldn't have a sense of ownership. Your brain doesn't tag it with significance. That's part of the way that the reticular activating system works. It tags various things with a form of significance that you assign to it in order to be able to locate various different signs and symptoms of these objects of your ownership or that are useful to you in your environment. It's why you might see certain opportunities where others don't, just depending on what your awareness has been tuned to. And so the hijack of this is the way that the interest graph is working, is that now our attention is being, in a way, drawn in by things that are being measured to keep our eyeballs, literally eyeballs, focused, looking towards the screen. And there are technical and technological engineering that assures that the device we're looking at, it's looking back at us and tracking the way that our eyes move and how long we're looking at the screen and so on and so forth, so that then it can present other things that carry those nuances to us next, so that we don't look away. It knows the types of things that everyone is attracted to. And human beings, as much as we are individuals and as much as we are different, there are a lot of things that for the most part, on the low end, that 25% of people are automatically going to be just drawn into. And then there are ways to increase that percentage. And then once that percentage reaches its apex, then it starts to move out into individual programming. And it's a brilliant system, and the technology is tracking it and feeding back into itself and updating in real time, so that we are all essentially being given designer and how would I say, basically personalized digital drugs that are keeping us addicted. Now, I've gone off on a lot of stuff. Some people will say that it's, it seems like conspiracy theory. It's not. All of these things you can, if you really want to, you can look it up for yourself. You can find all the different pieces of this and put it together. Even some of the biggest companies now are meeting about, the safety and mental health of young people, and just should be about anybody in general, because almost no one is immune to this. But I originally began to say that there are certain things that we can do that inoculate us against this and make us more aware. You see, because it's not like there is going to be a way in which you make yourself completely immune to it. I don't know of something like that yet. But I do know from personal experience of how to make it so that those things matter a lot less to you. And so that you're not as detrimentally influenced by it as you possibly could be. And maybe even drive that away to a large effect, to make it almost insignificant. I know that's what has been my experience, but it's also because of the way that I approach a lot of things. So going back into my history, and I won't get too much details, but like a lot of people, I have had various different insecurities throughout my life of not being smart enough, not being good looking enough, not being wealthy enough, not being strong enough, not enough of so many different things. Although my mother was very encouraging and my father was very supportive, being around various different peers in school, a lot of people just, especially going through, I grew up partly in New York City, and then, in South Florida, which is very segregated and very strange, and just people were very cruel. Your peers were very, very cruel. And so I picked up a lot of those things. But my remedy, I strongly believe and understand, my remedy was different than many people. I responded as an outlier in many ways to my insecurities and to my shortcomings. And the way that I did this, instead of me basically retreating and thinking that, there's nothing I can do about it, and that, I'm just always going to be some skinny, wimpy, dumb, black kid that, has this name Hakeem, this very ethnic name that sounds so black that people made fun of, and I wear thick glasses, and of course, because I'm, my parents are Caribbean American, and so I have brown skin. I'm not going to be as smart, and of course, there was a lot of this that was systemic as well, where I didn't have some of the same opportunities, and even looking back at it now, I see how I was treated differently, and wasn't encouraged to do certain things that my peers of, who were Caucasian were offered, just the way that the guidance counselors and different people spoke to them. That's something that many people know. But all of those things, so my response wasn't to just say, well, that's just the way it is, and then become another cog in the wheel and conform and just accept my fate. No. Instead, I addressed my being thin and skinny and applied that to continuing riding my bike, riding skateboards, running, jumping, climbing, and then started lifting weights and focusing on training martial arts more. So I developed my muscles, I developed my coordination, I developed my confidence, and kept on with that. In order to develop myself intellectually, I continued to read more, and some of these things I didn't really even know definitively in a conscious way that these were why I was doing it. I just knew that they were positive things. So I already enjoyed reading. Since middle school, I read a book called The Last Mission by Harry Mazer, and I read Animal Farm by George Orwell, and then there were a whole bunch of these books called Choose Your Own Adventure books, and I remember very specifically reading some about aliens, and one of my favorite ones was called The Lost Tribe, about the Maori in New Zealand, and even remembering, the word that they said for white man was Pakeha, as I remember very clearly. I mean, there's just, so I already enjoyed writing, so I started writing on my own, short form. I started writing poems and prose, and then I learned about haiku. And because of my obsession with martial arts and samurai and ninja, I thought, oh, a Japanese form of poetry, so I'm going to do that. And then I continued to sing, and I was in the band, so I continued playing musical instruments, and I listened to music. And my sister, she introduced me to Harry Connick Jr. and Pearl Jam, and so into jazz and rock, and then metal, and then and I just kept on playing music, and I started playing guitar and singing, and so on and so forth. So I started doing all of these different activities, reading and writing, which a large part introduces you to, at the very least, the intellectual pursuit of philosophy and understanding the world through words and descriptions. And then music and lyrics, both playing musical instruments as well as using my voice as an instrument and composing my own songs. And then martial arts, which encompasses so many things of the physical fitness aspect, the coordination, the confidence. So these things I still continue to this very day, and I just kind of fit it under the category of metaphysics, music, and martial arts, and it's just nice that they all begin with the letter M. But that's what I put it under. The metaphysics is all of the reading and writing and researching. Of course, music, that's, singing, even including some aspects of dancing, but also composing music and playing musical instruments and recording it and performing. And then martial arts, of course, which is the physical aspect and knowing, it's basically physical mastery, in my opinion. It doesn't have to just do with punches and kicks and and grappling and all that. It's a very holistic system. So metaphysics, music, and martial arts. Now, what does that mean, and how does that apply to all of those things I said before when I built up about this, basically this techno dystopia of artificial intelligence and the control of human minds and these various weird, quirky behavioral things. And I know I mentioned, gambling and booty pictures online and stuff like that. And how does this all tie in? But it's because it's a word that a term that I coined back in 2013, which is you could pronounce it a couple ways: memetic engineering or memetic engineering. So memetic, spelled using the word meme, M-E-M-E-T-I-C, which also can be related to mimetic, M-I-M-E-T-I-C, because, for example, in the Terminator movie, since we're talking about AI, but this is AI combined with robotics, the Terminator 2 movie had the T-1000, which was mimetic polyalloy. So basically, it was liquid metal, right? Mimetic means mime, like it could take on the forms, or mimic, right? It mimicked different forms. Mimicry, that's where it comes from. Not the mime, the silent figure, although that's another part of a related terminology. But yes, so memes create mimicry. So memetics and mimetics, or mimetics, because it's mimicry, mimicking, not mime. So the term, I guess, would better be pronounced memetic. But the memetic and mimetics are very closely related. But I coined the term memetic engineering. And so this is the memetic engineering, which means basically the construction of mind control technology in all of its forms, whether it is hardware, software, or socialware. Okay, and I just said that word right now. I don't even know if it is a real one. But hardware, software, socialware. The socialware is using the hardware that's programmed by software to inject socialware, which are all of the slang terms and various different terminology that people use, that then gets people to be memetic, to mimic others. So that's the behavioral part, right? So basically you're using the technological engineering, this type of memetic engineering, to pass on to humans, software, their thoughts, so that then it is presented in mimetic expression through our hardware, our bodies, our behavior, doing things that others do. It's an engineering of behavior on a grand scale, the global brainwashing agenda I've talked about before. And I'm using these terminologies. I know that people will say, well, that's a little extreme. It sounds conspiracy theory. It's not what it is. It's matter of fact. If it were not real or true, then you wouldn't have the heads of major companies like Mark Zuckerberg meeting with people to discuss the safety and health, mental health specifically, of various people around the world. There wouldn't be all these people who are killing themselves and others due to direct influence from technology, from artificial intelligence, social media, and so on and so forth. So the memetic engineering is created for the purpose of memetic expression in humans. It starts with people who create these things, who engineer and program them, the technologies, to broadcast this information and these messages for the purpose of behavioral control. Now, the behavioral control is not with the intention of having people kill themselves and each other. Not necessarily, or at least I hope not. The main goal is, as stated previously, is to hold people's attention for the purpose of getting them to consume. Attention is often linked with the word pay. Pay is directly linked to money. Money is directly linked to time. Attention is time. Time is our life. That's all that we have. So essentially, we have a giant vampire or monster or demon that is literally draining the life from people through their attention. You get people's attention. It takes time to pay attention to the various different memetically engineered media. Many people's time, not only is it their lives, because that's what, of course, it is, time is our life. We have a certain amount of time that we are alive in this body on earth. Let's be generous and say that's 100 years. And what is happening is our attention, which we don't always know that that's what's happening, our attention is being directed towards these devices so that we consume. So what's happening is there's a double extraction of life, or a dual extraction of life. Maybe I'm saying dual right now, but there are many other ways in which this time extraction is happening. But first you have the extraction of through attention, in order to install the memetic, the mimicking behavior into people, so that they want what everybody else wants, and they're looking at what everybody else is looking at, so they can fit in with how everybody else they perceive as fitting in, so that they then go and spend their money, which they have already spent their time earning, to acquire, to obtain, to buy. So you see what's happening here is everything is memetically engineered so that people are constantly, voluntarily giving away their life force, time. And it's no longer their own. So the example is the model that we have are people getting up in the morning or whatever time it is, going to work and spending their time in exchange for money. Then they're done with work, and then because their life force has been drained, they feel like they want to get it back. They then exchange their money, but instead of doing things that are actually going to give them back more life force and energy, they spend more time through attention on things that are just going to program them to spend more of their money, aka life, time, to acquire more things to fit in. So you're just basically going from one mode of giving away your life force to another. Your life is no longer your own, and you're giving it to others who have set up these systems to drain that time from you, so that, guess what? They have more of it. You see, this is the truth of vampirism or any other mythology in which there are beings who go around and sucking the blood. Blood is synonymous in many of these mythologies with life force. So, but we'll look at it as like psychic vampires, vampires in general, and them having, extending their lifespan, because that's what time is. So it's not actually about, although your lifespan does extend, interestingly enough, the more that you have more sovereignty over your own time and the way that you spend it, the longer you actually tend to live chronologically because of less stress and other factors. But this mythology actually has to do with these systems in which the lifetime of the masses are siphoned away through these various different systems and pyramids and hierarchies, and funneled up to fewer and fewer as you go up the top of the pyramid, who then have more time to do and live as they wish, and so they actually are having more life. Because they have more time that is their own, that they are not using to feed someone else's time. Your time is literally, actually being extracted to be fed to others so that they have more of it. That's the game. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the truth. When you study marketing, sales, business systems, and everything, you ultimately see that is what the goal is of building most types of businesses, is to create systems that automate and delegate different aspects of the business so that you, the service provider or the product creator, do not have to spend as much time servicing that. So you have more time. That's the dream. To not only get the money, but to have more time freedom, which is synonymous with life freedom. There's no mistake that we have compound words like lifetime. It's not a mistake that people constantly say that time is money and that we have to pay attention, just the same way that we pay with money. We pay with money, and if the money is earned in that time for money exchange, then what you're literally doing is you're paying with your life for various different things. You're giving your life force for various different things. Which, just as a side note, could be one of the reasons why you've had many communities have their community gardens bulldozed when people wanted to remove themselves from the certain systems and be able to grow their own food and be self-sustaining with certain things, whereas you'd have law enforcement go literally and bulldoze and stomp and pull out and destroy their gardens. Because when you think about it, if you understand, maybe you don't know the definitions of wealth from Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, and I've amended it just slightly because he used the word mankind. I'm saying humankind. But wealth is the produce of the land and the labor of humankind. So if you have a farm and you're producing food on the land through your labor, you are wealthy. Because it's your time that's going directly into something that really what you need. What do you need? You need clean air, fresh water for your biological needs, right? So let's amend that. Like, let's say clean water, healthy food, and then you need clothing and shelter, right? and community, companionship. And companionship is not even necessarily all what you need. People can do without it. Although you'll have some people who object to that, but that's another thing that's been part of the brainwashing agenda. And I'm not an advocate of complete solitude. I don't think that people should be staying away from each other. Humanity wouldn't survive that way. There would be no romantic relationships, no coupling, no mating, no reproduction, no offspring. No, people won't be having babies. But the produce of the land and the labor of humankind, when people are self-sustaining on their own homesteads and they're able to grow their own food and raise their own livestock and have their own lakes and fisheries and things like that, and then exchange that with others, because not everybody is growing the same thing. When people are allowed to do that, they're given back. I'm saying given back, but you take back your time in that way, because that's ultimately what the foundation of our living is. But when fences have been put around tracts of land, and people are said that it's not safe for you to grow your own food and your own livestock, and you don't know how to clean it and make it safe for you to eat and all these other things like that, and you don't know how to milk cows and make sure that the milk is drinkable and all this other stuff like that, and other people are put in control of that. These are just other ways that the environment has been structurally engineered to redirect and to siphon and extract your time away from you. Your labor takes time. And instead of your labor directly yielding you the results of getting the resources that you need from the land that has been producing it, that you've been tending to, it is now being filtered off and siphoned off through these various different channels. It's like a system that in a computer system, some fraudulent software that's been set up where that through every transaction, a fraction of a cent disappears here and there randomly every once in a while, until next thing you know, there's trillions of dollars in some account because it was siphoned off from many billions of people randomly all over through these various different transactions. And that's the same thing that's happening with life force. Instead of you walking out your door into your garden and pulling up a potato or a carrot or whatever from your yard, cleaning that off and putting it on your table, you now have to go out of your house, get on your bike, walk, or into your car and go to a grocery store and wait in lines after wading through the aisles and going to a shelf and finding this stuff and picking it out, putting it into some paper plastic bags inside of a cart, and then going to a line and waiting to check out. Like, this is what's been put in. And through all of that, time, lifetime force is being extracted. Now, some people look at that and say, oh, that's normal, that's fine. Yes, there's a lot of that stuff that is put into place that makes it so that certain products of the land get to people in places where they wouldn't usually be able to have access to. I'm not arguing that. The issue is the nuance. And so let's get back into the central theme here that I began with and that I proposed is actually a resolution, a solution, a remedy for this, which might seem very simple for a lot of people and maybe oversimplified, but it addresses a whole lot of various different things. And maybe it was accidental or just by chance. Luck is is, preparation and awareness that is then applied to opportunities that present themselves. And so there's all these combinations of these things in my life. However, I have been able to corrode conformity and extract my time and my life and own it for myself more than many people are, because of my adherence to function over form. And very simply, what that means is because I have not fallen victim to the memetic engineering to influence my memetic expression, in that I am more concerned about what I can do and how I live than what other people perceive that to be. So the major issue is, and I went very roundabout to say something that a lot of people have heard, but all of that those descriptors and that depth is required so that it doesn't just seem like it's just some popular thing that people say, and I already know that and I've heard that before. But you don't may not understand the mechanism and how pervasive and maybe even malicious it is, even if it wasn't intentional at the beginning. Although, if you think about the hidden hand that Adam Smith talked about in Wealth of Nations, and if you regard anything that some of the other classics say, like texts from Machiavelli, The Prince, and things like that. And if you look at Propaganda by Edward Bernays, and if you look into the history of the Committee on Public Information, and so on and so forth, public relations, Sigmund Freud, I have a degree in clinical hypnosis from the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, which has a direct lineage to all of that through Ericksonian hypnosis. So Capucinian hypnosis, which is what I learned from, and is what I developed my Ali-Bocas hypnosis from, which Capucinian is based on Ericksonian, and Ericksonian got many ties into Freudian as well as Bernays' ideas, because of how they were all developed. And you have things like, you have hypnosis, and then you have what is known on, when people want to make it sound like it's nice, it's called conversational hypnosis, but when it's used maliciously, it's known as covert hypnosis. And then you have neuro-linguistic programming and so on and so forth, which I developed synaptic syntax sequencing from, all of this stuff. So, but the issue is that what has come down to is that instead of people actually being physically fit and healthy, meaning eating healthy food, drinking fresh water, getting lots of movement, being mobile, being agile, being active, right, being fit and healthy. Instead, what they've been memetically engineered to mimetically express is wearing excessive makeup and putting on wigs and perming and dyeing their hair and wearing jewelry and getting surgeries on their face and their bodies and the liposuctions and taking various pills and going on crash diets and doing all this stuff to their body through, again, technology, being drugged and cut up and caked on stuff, basically, just basically being used like a canvas, and a big experimental canvas, instead of the very simple thing of spending all your time, your lifetime, acquiring all of those things, could be simplified by really understanding what is healthy about your food and about your movement and how that pertains to you personally as an individual, because not everybody's the same, of course. But all of that time and money, which have been linked together, which is your life, so much of your time your life can be reclaimed by you if you just go to the source, which is ultimately, when people want to look good, it really comes down to feeling good and being healthy. The best look is health. Like my website, exercisingyourmind.com, since 2007, the theme has been wealth attraction research. Great health is the truest of all wealth. When you focus on your time and attention on understanding what your own great health is, you have the truest of wealth. Because you reclaim a lot of your time and you have the understanding of how to feel good in your body, which actually looks good. You look a lot better being healthy overall in general. Your skin, just everything looks better, regardless of what people say about their own preferences. Everybody has their preferences. But the ultimate preference is for healthy people. That's the ultimate thing. What we are biologically programmed to see health as far as the reason that goes to, and it goes back to reproduction and passing on the healthiest genes. But when all of this is covered up by all this fake stuff, all the makeup and the jewelry and the clothing and the superficial things, the cars and the status and all of that has been memetically engineered for you to think. All that is the form stuff. People are prioritizing form, what it looks like, over function, what it actually is. If you prioritize function first, what you can do with your body, how it feels, how you sleep, how you operate, all that stuff, you not only feel and look better, but you also have more time, which then also feeds back into you feeling and looking better because you rest more, you're less stressed, less anxious, so on and so forth, all of that stuff. And you would serve yourself much better by first, that's where the martial arts pillar of my activity comes from. It covers that. It's not just combat and self-defense, it's physical fitness and awareness and confidence and so many things. And with that, and this is, and I'm not saying that, not all martial artists do this. That's why you have, for example, all of these so-called, masters and teachers who, if they're my age, which I'll be 49 this year, they're all falling apart, they're fat, their bellies are hanging out, they can hardly move, they're shuffling around like most people. So what has their years of practicing martial arts done for them? How are they any better than anybody else if they just age and move along like anybody else? You can clearly see in the bodies and the experience of other people that what they're doing is not effective. Your religion, your martial arts, whatever your practice is not effective if you have not extended your health and your longevity and you're not able to be healthy and enjoy your life through your physical body into your years. That's not real. That's fake shit. That's all the fake stuff that people have been programmed to exist within. And again, I'm saying this only because some people get offended by this stuff. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm speaking the truth. The truth of the matter is that when you get older, you do not have to break down in the way that most people are breaking down. Most people are breaking down that way because they're accepting, they're conforming that other people are doing it, so it's okay. I'm just going to fit in. Other people are doing it, so it's okay. I don't have to be exceptional for myself. And this has nothing to do with being exceptional for other people. It's for yourself. The longer you can be healthy and the longer you can feel good in your body and perform and do the things and enjoy life, we must be playing like children for our entire lifetime. We are not supposed to be breaking down and stopping and being these boring old sad things that have no vitality in life and look like zombies walking around on earth, just consuming more to cake on makeup and fakery and just put on masks. Like eventually you're literally just become a walking corpse that is just putting on stuff to make it look like you're not dead. Like that would be like if in the zombie movies, the zombies had a slightly higher level of intelligence, and in order not to be stinking up the place and freaking everybody else out, they just start putting on makeup and clothes and perfumes to cover up the rotting stench. That's really what is happening to a lot of people. People are just walking around just dead and covering it up, when you can really have real life time by reclaiming it. And the first step is the real wealth attraction research is not faking it like, I got this, look at my car, look at my jewelry, look at my house, and instead reclaiming your time and actually being able to function, being able to play actively with your children, to walk, to run, to climb, to ride bikes, to be out in nature, rather than being confined inside some room, some hole, in some darkened indoor place with technology just beaming electromagnetic radiation into your face, and having it slowly just extract your time, your life. You're sitting there just rotting and decaying. Your time, your life is being extracted right there as you sit there doing nothing, for you to then go out and spend more of your time, your life, because your money, to then try to cover up, to fit in, to make it seem like you're vital and living. You see how backwards that is? People are going around trying to fake being vital and alive, mostly for the fact and mostly for the effect of wanting to have companionship and mating and company, which is crazy. Most people won't admit that, but that's really the ultimate thing that most people are looking for, is to be able to play vitally with other people, whether that be for romantic or just for the expression of fun and freedom with your body, in whatever way that takes form. But people are faking it and then getting together with other people who are faking it. And so therefore, humanity is not passing on the best of the genes. We're passing on the people who have settled, who are faking, and so we're just degrading all of humanity altogether, because instead of people actually being the most vital, the strongest, the healthiest through, and here's the thing, it's not all about just your genetics. There's epigenetics. It's the nurture is stronger than nature. What you do with your body and how you treat it and how you fuel it has more impact than what you were born with. And so what's happening is that the epigenetic engineering that people are accepting through the memetic engineering is degrading the quality of human existence. The quality of human existence is being degraded. And one of the first remedies to that is your physical health, which is directly connected to your mental health, mental and physical health. So health as a whole is mental and physical. When you intellectually, academically, psychologically, mentally understand the extreme importance of clean water, healthy food, and optimal and optimized physical expression and mobility, it feeds back into your body, your biological system, which is the mechanism that your mind operates in controlling and moving about. You are happier. You're whole, healthy. That's where those words are all directed. Health, whole, holistic, heal. You are more whole that way. And you would more likely then be able to, these other factors that I talk about. See, so that's what I'm talking about here is really the martial arts and the metaphysics. How you think and what you do. Your actual function. And then something else that comes into there is the art. The other forms of expression, which are directly related to martial arts, what you do. My writing of poetry, my playing of musical instruments, my singing, my dancing, these are all part of that. These systems are all interconnected. But a lot of people are not doing those things because of this great hijack. I don't know what other way to say this, and it's very difficult for a lot of people to hear who feel like they've been wasting their life, wasting their time. It's hard. It's more difficult to inform people that they've been hijacked and brainwashed and have them actually change than it is to actually hijack and brainwash them, even though right in front of their faces there's this cognitive dissonance that's obvious, which is one of the things that contributes to stress. When people are being told, if you buy this and you do that, you put on this makeup, these clothes, this style, act like this, dance with your booty on camera like this, do that and get this, and you get these likes and comments and all that stuff and views, that's going to make you happier. When it's not. You are the creator of your happiness. You have your physical body. That is where your attention should be focused on, is how do you optimize your system? In the very same way, for example, that people play video games, right? In these simulated worlds, and they get all these mods and they pay for all of these upgrades, or they find like the health pouches and this and that, or collect the weapons and things like that. That is actually a simulation, but what you should be doing in your real life. But not, instead of, collecting all the outer things, you're collecting the inner things. Meaning you're sourcing the highest form of nutrition and the cleanest, freshest water and the exercise and the skill building, because that is what's going to modify, upgrade, augment, improve your physical and mental and spiritual system so that you can play the game of life at a higher level. That's what this really, it's another analogy for what this is all about. But just like other players in the game, if you have a multiplayer game where a lot of people get on these gaming systems, I at least know this much, and can play with people all over the world through the internet, and it's highly competitive, some people will kill your character in the game and take your resources, take the weapons you drop, the life force that you drop, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. That's what's happening in the real world. That's really what's going on. But you can reclaim a lot of that. You don't have to start a business, but you can structure your life in a way that you have more of your time, and that the more of your time you have, you enjoy it more because you're healthier mentally and physically, and also emotionally, because you are engaging in activities which you enjoy. And in communities of people who are doing some similar things, and you're building off of each other because you're creating. And you're creating in a healthy way from a healthy body and a healthy mind. You get to play with other people who are healthy. Which, some of the pre-colonized forms of capoeira, which I practice most of the time, ironically, by myself, is a really good example of how communities should be getting together. Capoeira, if it wasn't colonized the way it has been, most people should be doing something like that, where they're getting together in groups. Everybody is either singing, clapping, dancing, or playing a musical instrument, and moving their bodies in ways where they're basically, that's it. People are singing and dancing together in a way that is structured to build other skills. Whether it just be, having more mobility and agility and physical health, or it be in understanding the body mechanics for physical mastery, whether or not you want self-defense. And I really think, I wish that combat wasn't necessary, but people have disagreements, so they should come to fisticuffs. People shouldn't be out there shooting each other. Some kid threatened to shoot me the other day, and it's crazy. All right, so now that I'm starting to say stuff like it's crazy, that means that this is this is the end of this presentation. So ultimately, here's the theme, the thesis, is that I know through experience and then from confirmation through research and study, and also looking into my understanding of the human mind from my degree in clinical hypnosis from the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and my further studies in human consciousness and origins and the fundamental essence of reality through metaphysical sciences, that from my experience, from my research, from academic study, ultimately we can reclaim our lives by focusing on our physical health. I'm just going to say by practicing martial arts, by playing musical instruments and or singing, or creating some other type of art, whether it be painting, drawing, sketching, dancing, singing, poetry, any of those other types of expressions, or those the liberal arts. And I mean, really, that's it. Your physical body and your mind. I mean, metaphysics, music, martial arts. That's how I express it. But it's really having a sound philosophy and a viable expression, physical expression. When we focus our attention on those things that actually matter, on the function of what we can actually do, rather than trying to fake it and put on a facade to other people, we're essentially reclaiming our time and unplugging from the systems that are trying to tell us that we need to be feeding those systems in order to fit in. No, you fit in much better when you actually are healthy and can actually engage with other people and play with other people. But all of this fakery, this is what's really causing the problems. Essentially, people are being lied to and told that the stuff that they have and the way that and the makeup that they put on, like, people are basically being told that they're not enough and that they need to consume other things. They need to spend their time working to have the money to be able to spend on these things in order so that they can fit in and find community and find love and be accepted. When the reality is that if you really just focus on making yourself the best that you can be by being well-rounded, all of those things will fall into place naturally as it should be. Being a well-rounded person of body, mind, and spirit, actually, by actually practicing things daily that are helping you to improve yourself, that is reality. That is what's actually best to communicate and to connect with other people on, over all of the fake facade stuff. I know this is a fact of my life. There's certain details I don't want to get into, but I have thrived in and have communities of people attracted to me without me having to show off money or pretending on the outside that it's a certain thing. I don't wear brand name clothes, and if I do, it's just either by accident. Maybe I got it from a thrift store, or for whatever reason. I know there are a couple things like that, but I make sure that the logos are hidden, or I black them out, or I sew a patch over, or I cut it out, because I'm just not into that. Like, my point is that brand names of a lot of things aren't my identity, because I know what a lot of those organizations represent. They're not representing what they say they should be. If you're going to represent a brand, it should be actually doing and representing what it is. So I'm not going to bash certain brands right now, but I just don't, it's not part of my identity. Wearing certain things to impress certain people, it has no bearing in my existence. It means zero to me. And I think, and that's a point of pride for me, that it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't, somebody looking at me and seeing, they can't identify any brand that I'm wearing. Except for my own. I wear stuff that says World Reading Club, or Uniquilibrium, or Hypnoathletics, or Sword Paper, or Capagera. That's my clothes. I have my own shirts, my own stuff that I wear. That's it. The other stuff you wouldn't be able to tell because there's no labels, there's no brand sticking out, because that's fucking retarded. Excuse me, I know people are gonna be mad at that. It's just fucking stupid. I almost went this whole thing without dropping F-bombs. It doesn't mean anything. Like, if you're going to wear clothes because you like the way it looks, that's great, but does it have to have a giant label on it to show people that that's what you're wearing, and so therefore you've got this, so you're important? Now you're you might be dateable or fuckable because you're wearing such and such a brand. That's insane. It actually doesn't mean anything. It does not mean that that person's actually healthy, or that they're actually going to be able to please you in the bedroom, or that they're actually going to be able to have a stimulating intellectual conversation with you, or that you're going to be happy with them. All that means is that maybe you're going to have some sad existence of faking with each other, and then the honeymoon phase is going to be over, and then you're just going to be tolerating each other and playing this game of trying to impress other people by acquiring more of those stupid label brands that drew you into that person because you were misled thinking that means something. And so now then both of you just get into a partnership of now striving to get more of that crap that doesn't mean anything, that form, that outer layer, that superficiality, to impress other people, to make it look like you two now together are making it. Because he or she saw he or she wearing this and that, and so they then decided to get together because they had this fake stuff on the outside. Then they get together and they realize they both ain't shit. And so then now they both get together and are on this team of faking more to other people for no damn reason. And just living in misery with each other. I've gone off the deep end. But the true deep end, that's there. No lies detected. No cap. It's all true. I'm living my life like some kind of supervillain by still being able to jump and spin and flip and fly and climb and squat and crouch and crawl and play like a child in my body everywhere that I go, while other people are dragging themselves along throughout life, just caking on all of this stuff on their body to make it look like they're more vital when they're not. You're out there faking, dragging along, limping, hustling, shuffling, just carrying around all this extra baggage physically and psychologically and spiritually when you don't have to. And I'm out here with none of those brand names or anything. I literally, not even joking, I actually wear heavy stainless steel chains on 4 points of my body. Both of my wrists have stainless steel chains, like industrial chains, like that you would buy in a hardware store, because that's where I got them from. A belt that I wear, which is the heaviest, thickest stainless steel chain around my waist that I clip my keys onto, and one that holds my wallet that I wear around my neck as a necklace. And I'm still jumping, crawling, moving. I hardly feel them. So I'm actually wearing extra weight on my body and still am bouncing around more vitally than most people are. Not even just people my age. I'm not healthy for my age. I don't look young for my, I am healthy and performing and functioning for anybody's age. There are people literally half my age who come up to me and ask me, how is it that you are doing what you're doing? Like, I want to get, people literally have said to me several occasions, I want to get like you. How can I get like you? Well, stop piling junk into your body and sitting around all day and simulating worlds, and actually get out and play. Go play capoeira. Go run or walk on the track. Go rock climbing, indoor or outdoor. Ride a bicycle. Go swimming. Dance. You know, not even saying you have to do any of that other stuff. Dance. Turn on some music and dance. Dance in your living room by yourself. Dance in the park by yourself like nobody's watching, because it doesn't fucking matter. What matters is you express your body and you feel good in your body. Move. Breathe. Live. Take your time back and do something that's fun for you. Express your body. Express your mind. Stop covering up what you feel like are your insecurities and inadequacies by buying things that other people are telling you are going to make you more attractive to other people and help you find companionship with others through all this fakery and superficiality. It's not real. And you're going to end up growing old and dying with full of regrets. And that is the worst way to go out. Live. I tell you. Live. For yourself, and others will come. I actually have to isolate myself in order to stay away from people, how much people are drawn to me. Not because I don't like people, but because sometimes it gets overwhelming. It doesn't matter where I go, literally in the world or in this country, anywhere, inevitably, no matter where I am, people come towards me. It doesn't matter how quiet I am, how loud I've tried everything. I've been annoying. I talk a lot to people. Doesn't matter. Because of real, true vitality. You become magnetic and attractive to other people when you are true to your actual self, when you actually really are about something and not just faking it. Like, here's the end of this, right? Here's my bragging rights. I actually am a lifetime musician and singer and lyricist. I have the ability to sing, write my own lyrics, play musical instruments, and perform them. I can dance. I can move my body like no other. I practice an energetic, acrobatic form of martial arts. I am strong. I am powerful. I am confident. I am balanced. I am flexible. I have endurance. And I'm also academic and intellectual. I can read. I can write. I can understand almost anything that there is to understand. I can build. I actually do all of these things actively every single day. That's real. I don't have to pretend that I'm cool because of the watch that I have on, or the hat that I'm wearing, or the shoes that I got on, my swag. I don't have to do that because it's not real. The gear that I wear is so that I can flip and jump and move around and do that stuff, because that is cool to me. Be able to squat and crawl and climb and jump and flip, that is so much fun. To be able to sing and dance and perform, to be able to have intellectual discourse and to be able to write and express myself, all of that is cool to me. It always has been, and it always will be. That's real. Now, yeah, I have some stuff that people might look at if they knew what it was and be like, wow, that's, you know, some of the brands, but I get them for their durability and their functionality. Like, I use Cross pens because they have a lifetime warranty and they write really well, and I like to physically write with my hand. I use Moleskin notebooks and other various kind of notebooks. I buy books. Everybody knows books aren't cheap, especially the collection of the physical books that I have. I have Toomey bags because they have a lifetime warranty and they're virtually indestructible, some of them. And then I discovered Fjallraven Kanken backpacks. It's the same thing, because I carry stuff around. I like books and notebooks and pens and things like that, and they last a very long time. They're not cheap, but they last a long time, so I'm not constantly every year having to buy new ones. I've literally had Tumi bags now. I have a couple of them that I've had, one since the year 2000, so 26 years, and a couple of other of them for the last 13 years, almost 15 years. So that's why, and the cross pens, the same thing. I've had cross pens, some of the same ones that I still have with me, I've had for almost 20 years. That's why I buy stuff. I bought a brand new car in 2017, not because I could say I have a brand new car. It's not like a Honda Elantra, some like fancy high-end car like people buy Mercedes and stuff like that for. But it was functional, had a lot of gas mileage, and it was awesome, like driving a high-end piece of technology. It was a great car. Drove it across the country from Florida out to California and drove it around there for a while. Bought a new car, a Toyota Crown. Why? Because I use it. And because I travel in it, and because of all the things that come with getting a new car, with the warranties and the fact that I get to go to the dealership and do the oil change, I did it for a reason, not for the status. Now, but I know that when people see it, because it's a cool looking car, it lends status, but this is a different status of this vehicle, has nothing to do with me doing it just because of the way it looks. There are other deeper reasons that I got, and I get all these things for. Most people have no idea about my Tumi bags or the Fjallraven Kanken or the Cross pens, because I'm like, the brands aren't that flashy. Like my Tumi bags, when you look at them, you don't see Tumi up in your face. The Fjallraven Kanken, same things. You don't see that up in your face, although the brand might be recognizable because they were selling them a lot in Barnes & Noble. The Cross pens, when I'm riding with them, you don't see, it's not obvious it's a Cross pen. So people aren't looking up, what is he wearing? You know, what is that bag? You know, so they don't know that they cost like $100 to $500 for the pens and the bags. Right? That's not the point. The point is because I use them a lot, and I need them to last and not bust out ink all over the place, or me having to go get some cheap piece of crap that's just going to fall apart on me and not last. And the same thing goes with my body. You know, I do the things that I do for longevity, for endurance, for durability, and to be able to actually enjoy it for the things that I'm actually doing. I am. That's the whole point. Great health is the truest of all wealth.